This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. The following CareLab podcast does not provide health or medical advice. All content is provided for information purposes only. Listeners are encouraged to speak with their healthcare provider for specific healthcare advice and are wholly responsible for the outcome of implementing any tips or information presented.
Hi, welcome to CareLab.
Welcome to CareLab. It's CareLab Day. And we look really good, I think.
We look great. I think we're ready for the holidays. If you're listening/watching, if you're just listening, you should probably take a look at us as well, because we look good.
Exactly.
Ready. People are gonna go like get off of their podcast. They're gonna go to YouTube and look at this, and they're gonna be like, they look pretty normal. But we're slightly Christmasified. Anyway, welcome to our guest here today. Leeanna, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Leeanna, we're so glad to have you here. Leeanna is the inventor and founder of TookTake dosage reminder labels, a patented design born out of her own experience during breast cancer treatment. Leeanna realized the need for an easy, reliable way to track meds, supplements, and other wellness products, regardless of how they come. So her innovative labels make it simple to know when you took your last set of medications or used your medications, helping countless people avoid missed doses or double dosing, which we know is so important and one of the main reasons people end up back in the hospital. So Leeanna is passionate about improving adherence to wellness routines for people of all ages with her no-tech, user-friendly solution, TookTake. And we're just so glad to have you here to talk about it. So thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
When I was reading about TookTake and what you do, I have to say I got really, really excited. So I can't wait to hear more like about it and understand how it works and everything. But first, we have to take care of some other business. Are you ready for it?
Sure.
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to ask you our icebreaker question. Leeanna, you have to go first because you're our guest and we do that to our guests.
That's right.
So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the holidays. Do you like to travel over the holidays, or do you need to be at home in your own warm, cozy nest during the holidays? What's your preference?
Oh, that's a tough one. I like both. I like being somewhere else for the holidays. Getting there is usually not fun because it's such a crazy time to travel. So I do think it's fun to do the holidays in different places.
Is there somewhere that you've been over the holidays that was like your favorite, that hands down you would love to go back there again?
Well, usually we travel to see my husband's family in Iowa, and it's really fun because it's a really Midwest Christmas, and we're in California, so it's fun to see the whole family and have the really big Christmas. So I do enjoy doing that.
That's good. That's good.
Brandy,
what about you? Okay, I'll go.
It was my question, so you have to go second.
I guess I have to go second. Okay, so I guess it depends. So my husband works in retail, so we don't get to travel at the holidays, but we push at the limits because we usually leave right after Christmas and travel the week between Christmas and New Year's because everybody's done shopping, right? And so retail is a little bit let up a little bit. So we've been doing that pretty regularly. So the answer to the question is I like to travel at that period of time. I like doing both things because we have some home traditions too that I like doing at our house. So both.
So I've never traveled over like the Christmas, New Year holiday. I'm very open to that. I think I enjoy being actually at home in my home on Christmas. Like I like doing the presents under the trees for the boys and doing all that stuff and kind of just feeling comfortable there. That said, as they get older and as like my husband and I get older, the more appealing it sounds to like take off and go somewhere cool, and kind of escape some of the chaos that comes along with it. But I think traveling over New Year's, like that's something that sounds incredible. I don't know why not. I actually have not done that yet, but it's definitely high on my list. Like one of these years coming up here, we got to go do something cool for New Year's, even if it's just taking a road trip and like renting a cabin somewhere, but just to get out of town for a little while and kind of chill out after all of the holiday stuff.
Hustle and bustle. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like it. Get to do both things. Get a vacation from the vacation, from the holidays.
Yes, absolutely.
So, since we're not traveling and we're on this podcast, let's talk about TookTake. Leeanna, so first I should say, TookTake is on Ask Samie. And one of the main reasons is because it's really easy. And one thing that I always say as an OT who talks about adaptive equipment all the time is that assistive technology can be no tech, low tech, or high tech. We always think technology is only high tech. And so I love that you described TookTake as a no tech solution, because we're always pushing tech solutions, which are also good. It's just what works better for the person. So can you tell us a little bit about the origin story of like why you decided to do this?
Yeah, I started it during my treatment for breast cancer, and didn't really have an intention of inventing anything, but I had all these different medications.
That wasn't your first priority at that moment.
I was like laying around in bed, but we had like all these different things because I managed to somehow get like all the side effects. So I was constantly getting different things to try to manage them, and a lot of them weren't pills. And then the ones I'd get were all on different schedules. And we just had this huge collection of different medications. And I was convinced that I could keep track of them. And my husband would be like, "Did you take this?" And I'm like, "Maybe. I think so. I don't know." And then he'd be like, "Well, when do you think you took it?" I'm like, I don't know. In the morning? I'm not sure. So I started to put little labels I made on all of the bottles so we could keep track. And it really helped. And it was so simple because it was basically, I just took little like sticky notes and tore the little tabs into them and like wrote on them. So, we wouldn't have to play 20 questions every time he came in the room to ask me like what I did recently. And then as time went on, because I was in treatment for a year and I was in bed most of that time, I started to draw like, if this looked like this would be really cool. And we're both graphic designers. So we kind of made that a little project we worked on to give me something to do while I was stuck in bed. And it really seemed to help. It gave me something to do. And then by the time I was done, I'm like, these are really handy. Like we did a good job. Like these really helped us. And we had them around because I would like sit and make them in bed, like cut them out from our little printer. And we used them on like our dog's ear medicine. And we were finding other things in the house to like use them for. And that's when we thought, hey, this might actually be a good business.
Hey there, it's Amelia. Listen, I am so thrilled to have a great resource like Ask Samie as part of the CareLab team. And here's why. It's a game changer for aging in place because it makes it so simple. All you do is ask. Just type in your question or even tell Samie what the problem is and get tailored solutions. Everything from innovative adaptive equipment to comprehensive resources. It's a great way to become more empowered, to live more independently, and to live with greater confidence. And my favorite thing about how Ask Samie works is it's deeply rooted in dignity and practicality. So whether you're a fellow therapist, a care partner, or someone who's seeking solutions for themselves, visit www.asksamie.com. We're going to link it in the show notes so you can find it there. Start making home more accessible today. Now, back to the show. So I'm really curious because I actually have not seen TookTake before. I don't know exactly how it works. Can you like describe that or show how it works? Yeah. Do you have anything there with you?
Yeah. Yay. So like this is a little prescription bottle.
Okay.
The sun is just coming through my window here. So you just stick it on any bottle, box, package, whatever you're taking. It doesn't have to be a prescription bottle. And then there's little perforated tabs with the days of the week on there. And we also make hourly versions or short-term, like 10-day ones, monthly ones. But this is a daily one. It's the most popular. And then when you take your dose for the day, you just pull off this little perforated tab. It's like really lightly sticky, kind of like a Post-it or something. You just tear it off. And then you know if you took it or still need to take it. So later when you're like, because my problem now, I have something I take once a day, is it's so routine that like literally a minute later I turn around and look at the bottle. I'm like, did I take that? Like it's still sitting in front. And I'm like, well, I can't take it twice. So then normally, like if I didn't have this, I would skip it. But since I do, I look and I'm like, oh yeah, I did do it, huh? Yay me.
That's awesome. I love that. It's such a simple, kind of elegant idea that really anyone could use. I just think ideas like that are so phenomenal because it doesn't really require any kind of new learning or new skill set. Like pretty much anyone can do this.
Yeah, because when I was in treatment, I joke about it now, but I'm like, yeah, the drugged up person shouldn't be in charge of the drugs because I was convinced I did all kinds of things that I didn't do. So I like it's it's really handy now, but it was extra handy then because I was very unreliable with my information.
So that brings me up a really good question. So CareLab's goal is to be able to provide resources and comfort essentially to people who are caring for others. And I know you're not him, but do you have like any feedback from your husband's perspective of like after you actually developed this and y'all were using it, how did it work for him? Like how did it make y'all's relationship easier, his caregiving easier for you as you were going through your cancer treatment?
He loved it because like I said, he'd asked me, he was really concerned if I took stuff because if I waited too long, I'd get really uncomfortable with things like the pain medication or the anti-nausea medication was as needed, but still not like too often. So it gave him peace of mind to know when something was given, like if he gave it to me or if I took the tab off, then he knew, or he wouldn't wake me up to say like, when did you take this last? So it really helped him a lot. That's why it took a lot of stress out of his sort of caregiving role to not have to keep track of it on like a piece of paper, a chart, or rely on me.
Yeah, I can honestly I can kind of speak to that personally as well. And obviously I didn't have TookTake when this was happening. I wish I would have, but my mom had a couple of surgeries. She was staying with me and my mom is completely with it. She doesn't have any kind of, just like you, no cognitive issues or anything like that, but it's a lot to manage when something major has happened to your body. Right. So I was trying to help make sure that, that everything was okay. And we used like a big medication reminder, which I think is a great tool. But there were times, especially in the beginning when we were first getting things sorted out, when I don't know how much anxiety my mom had about it, but I was having a lot of anxiety about whether or not certain things had or hadn't been taken because, as a healthcare provider, I'm like playing all of these scenarios about what does or doesn't happen if we don't take our meds correctly, right? So, I mean, just personally, I can think, wow, as someone in that kind of caregiving position, even for, a temporary amount of time, that would have been really, really helpful to alleviate that anxiety and absolutely know, especially in the beginning, what was taken and what wasn't.
Yeah, and we even tried the pill containers, but then as soon as we thought we had a system, we'd get something that was a liquid or a lotion or it would be well, you take this for 2 days, twice a day, and then switch to once a day. And it was like a math problem trying to figure it out in the pill cases because we had 4 of them. And then the as needed things were just just complete gamble because it varied when I would take it. So that's when we started to just be let's leave it all in the bottle. Because also we weren't a family that luckily had a lot of medication, so we didn't even really have any system to reference or base it on. So we weren't used to taking things. So then if we took them out of the bottle, it wasn't like, oh, I should have remembered what shape that one was, because I don't know which one this is. It fell or it went in the wrong thing. It's like, I don't even know what this is anymore because it's not in the bottle and they all look kind of similar at a certain point.
Yeah, that's such a good point too, because I think the default answer I don't know, Amelia can correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, I feel like the thing that we say all the time is put it in a pill dispenser, put it in a pill case, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But what we don't do, we don't recognize that the pill bottle actually carries information, like we get to see what this pill actually is and give it its name and its dosage is in there. It might be too little to read, but it is at least there. And so keeping it in the bottle could be a benefit for somebody, and just needing to have some kind of solution.
I also think a lot of times folks who have like early stage dementia or like mild cognitive impairment, taking medications can be something that's really challenging for these folks. And it can also be challenging to help them take medications sometimes, because if you take it out of the bottle and you're putting it in a medication reminder or pill box or something, then sometimes folks can get suspicious of what that is, which is actually totally understandable. Like, we want to know what we're putting in our body. So it can actually make it harder sometimes to get folks with early stage dementia or middle stage dementia to take their medications, because it's hard for them to see or understand what it is. But with, keeping it actually in the bottle and having that simple reminder, again, I think these are still folks who would need assistance with that. Like, this isn't a solution that would make someone totally independent with their medication management, but it's a great way, I think, to help encourage folks to take their medications as directed, because they can see there on the bottle what it is, what it's for, and that there's a marker of when it actually was or wasn't taken. Like, that's huge.
But I think also there's so many younger people. Like, I think people assume if you're taking medication, they automatically jump to the elderly. But there's so many people who take something, they have one pill they take once a day for anxiety, cholesterol, like, blood pressure, all kinds of things. And they don't want to have to sort this one pill into these little containers. And it's easier if they keep it in the bottle. And then also other people in the house can see, like, I keep mine on the counter in our kitchen, kind of like tucked by the coffee maker. And sometimes, like, my husband will be like, hey, it doesn't look like you took this today. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't, thanks. So it helps other people be involved in a really simple way where they're not, having to ask you or quiz you, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you take this one? You can just kind of casually look and see and, help them out, give them a nudge if you see they didn't take it.
CareLab listener, I have a question for you. If someone you love needed a caregiver, what qualities would you want that caregiver to have? You probably want them to be reliable, trustworthy, kind, maybe just a generally dependable and good person, right? Second question, would you also want them to be trained? I'm going to guess the answer is a definite yes. Okay, third and final question for you. Do you think it matters who gives that training? Like, is it cool if it's just in your body, or would you want that person to be qualified expert? Assuming you do, in fact, love this person who needs a caregiver, you probably want the expert, right? Well, that's what Higher Standards Caregiver Training does. Higher Standards Caregiver Training provides 100% occupational therapist-led training for caregivers. Caregivers get taught everything from gold standard foundational skills for transfers and daily living tasks, all the way up to how to deal with specific diseases and injuries. And most importantly, they are taught all of these things in a way that is practical and enhances the participation of the person who needs the care. And it actually protects the safety of everybody involved. Why? Because everyone deserves a higher standard. For a course for individuals or learning about training for care for organizations, find that information at higherstandardscaregivertraining.com. Yeah, I think it's such an important point, especially when there's multiple people in the house. Because, like for instance, my husband has pills. He likes to keep them out so that he can be visually reminded to take them. We also have little people, and while they can't get into the bottles, I think he kind of has this system of like upside down is one thing and right side up is another. See, I don't even know what the system is. But if a kid comes and knocks it off the table or it gets moved, then that probably messed up his system. And then I don't want to have to be the nag to be like, what is this for? Why is this here? Did you take it? Do you need to take it? So I just asked nothing, but that's not helpful either, because what if it got forgotten, And so just to have something on there to just visually recognize whether you did or not. And also just for your own self, just remember if you did it or not. It makes it so much easier for everybody to be a part of that, and make sure that that the medications get taken, because if they don't get taken or they get taken too much, this is problematic.
Yeah, and like kids' meds that are usually liquid, it's really great because it stops the "did you do it? Did you do it?" And kids are incredibly unreliable. Like my daughter would say no to I'm like, did you already have this? I'm like, are you sure? Because she didn't want to take it again. So.
Or you might have my kids who are the other way around, who like they think that stuff tastes like candy, and so they're like, "It's time for medicine," and I'm like, "Didn't we do this already? How long ago did we take this?"
Yeah,
so
when was that?
They're going to say yes to everything too.
So I just think I like that it's simple and it can help everyone in some way, and that makes me kind of happy that it's a little thing, but it helps.
I have a question for you for clarification, because I think people might get confused about this. So TookTake it's a sticker that you can put on any bottle, right? It's not a separate bottle system. Can you clarify that just so people don't get confused about kind of what they're looking at?
Yeah, that's a great thing. Yeah, TookTake, it's a little sticker. You can stick it on anything. So if your medication comes in a box, in a bottle, in a tube, however it comes, you just stick it right on there. So everything stays in its original package. So if it's child safe, it stays child safe. You have all the directions, the expiration information, the refill information, everything's right there. So whether it's like, over the counter or a supplement, you still can see everything. And the other good thing about that I've been told by pharmacists is a lot of things should stay in the package they come in. Like it's packaged that way for a reason. They make those bottles amber colored or dark or whatever for a reason. So it's a good idea to leave them in there.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Is there, has the development of TookTake led you to any other ideas for new things to come out underneath your brand, or new ways that people have used it that you really didn't necessarily intend for it to happen, but they're finding good use cases for it?
We get a lot of people writing in and sharing on social media with interesting use cases that I didn't think of, just because they'll have them. They come in a package. So a lot of times people are like, well, I have them. I'm going to start sticking them on everything. So we have someone who uses them to keep track of their contact lenses, because they're supposed to change them every 2 weeks, but they would forget. So when they keep it on the bottle of the cleaner, so that when they're done with the 2 weeks, they know to throw the contacts away, because they're like, realized they'd been using them way too long. And a mom who let her daughter get her ears pierced, and I think said she was like 8 or 9, but the deal was that she had to show she could take care of them and do the cleaning of them every day. So like she put it on the cleaning solution for the pierced ears to give her daughter the responsibility, but be able to check up on her in a quiet way. So a lot of things like that. Our monthly label people have been using like on humidifiers to remember to change the filter every month, or someone stuck it on the refrigerator to know when they last changed the water filter. So a lot of like household uses, just things that you look at every so often and are like, I have no idea when we change that or clean that.
Again, I just love how simple this solution is. And that's why people can apply it so many different ways, right? But the power of visual cues in our world to remind us to do something. And then in your case with TookTake, to doubly say whether or not you've actually done the thing. It's just so, I mean, it's like a checklist for checklist for your medications, checklist for your life. I'm a big fan of checklists in general to like get through things and make sure that they get done. I'm fangirling over this very hard right now because it's so simple and anyone can use it. And those are the best kinds of things.
I agree. I like simple.
So, I guess my question for you to let everybody else know, is there anything else that you would want to like share with family caregivers that you think is useful or has happened in your life or you've seen play out in other ways?
With TookTake or just in general?
Anything. Yeah, because you come from both ways, right? You invented a thing, but you also were a patient, right? And you had a year's journey at least of dealing with cancer. And so, yeah, I just feel like from your perspective as a person, from all those angles, what else would you share with people who are caring for others?
I think for the caregiver, I mean, I saw with my husband and my daughter when they were taking care of me, is just also making sure you're taking care of yourself. Because I mean, I saw them so worried so much of the time with me that they didn't really, I had to like force them to take care of themselves or go watch a movie or go do something. And I think in extreme cases, it becomes overwhelming. And I think just knowing it's okay to take care of yourself too, because it was hard for me to watch them falling apart, but there wasn't anything I could do about it in that moment. So I think just, remember you need care too.
Yeah, that's so valuable. And I feel like if you've been listening to CareLab for a little while, this is a running theme. We did not cue her to say that. It just means that it is necessary. And like you're hearing it from a person who was being cared for, and like it's really important that that you recognize that too from all angles. You can't help if you can't help. Like if you can't help. So I really appreciate you being on the podcast today. It's awesome for you to create something out of your own pain and struggles, and now it's helping others. I love that it's an Ask SAMIE because it's a great and simple solution. Besides going there, what ways can people connect with you if they want to follow up after the podcast or find you out in the world?
TookTake.com is the best place. If you write in through our website, it's me who answers. I do everything on there. So I can answer any questions. That's where you can order TookTake. You can also get TookTake on Amazon and at CVS stores. But the best place is really our website. Or Ask SAMIE, of course.
Thank you very much.
Well, Leeanna, thank you so much for being on today. Thanks for sharing your story. And as Brandy said, making something positive out of it that people can really use to benefit their own lives. I think that like I have so much admiration for in a moment when things weren't necessarily going that great, finding a problem and a solution at the same time. And then having like the fortitude to go and actually make the thing and get it out there in the world. Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, dear listener, if you enjoyed this episode, if you made it all the way to the end, then please make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and leave a review. If there's something that you want us to talk about, have a question, want to know about, definitely leave it in the comments. We would love to answer any questions or bring up any topics that you're looking for. Until next time, we'll see you right here back on CareLab.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.